Hi everyone, welcome back to Bumble Stitches, my little podcast. My name's Nicola. This is episode 6, which I can't quite believe we're up to episode 6. Bit of a shock when I was checking back to see what number this episode was. So yes, and you probably noticed I've been updating my little board here just to let you know which episode it is. And thank you very much for coming back to see me if you're a returning viewer. And if you're just checking me out for the first time, then welcome to the podcast. I hope you enjoy it. I'm aware that I don't often do any sort of admin at the beginning of my podcast. So just to let you know, I am on Ravelry. My name on Ravelry is Bumble Stitches. I have recently changed that. I had a previous username of Floydy Pops, but not that many friends on Ravelry and so on. So I thought it'd be nice to tie it all in with the podcast so that if people want to check me out on Ravelry, I'm in the process of trying to keep my project pages a little bit more updated with things that I'm working on and things that I've completed. And maybe in the future, if the podcast keeps continuing as well as it is at the moment, we can start a Ravelry group and maybe get involved with some other things via all the forums and groups on there. So that would be really good fun for the future. So let me know if you'd like to do that. I don't want to just start something up just for the sake of it. But if you feel that would be a nice thing to do, somewhere for us maybe to chat when the podcast, about things on the podcast and things that you're doing, then yeah, please let me know. You can contact me via message on Ravelry. I'm also quite active on Instagram. My Instagram name is Nicola_Kerridge. So you can find me on there as well. So yeah, please get in touch. It's really nice. I've had some lovely comments again on the previous podcast, and it's lovely to hear that you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And just feels a bit more of interactive experience, when there's comments and stuff. So yeah, please feel free if there's anything that you like or that you'd like to see or anything at all, just get in touch, because it's really quite exciting when I see that I've got a comment on the podcast. Okay, first of all, I've got some really exciting news that I received in the last couple of days, and that is that I have got a place in the next Curious Handmade Country House Retreat, which is run by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, and it's a knitting retreat that runs for I think it's 4 days up in Cumbria in a lovely country house, as the name suggests, and I'm really excited to be going. It also falls just a couple of days after my birthday. My birthday's on the 2nd of March and the retreat starts on the 6th. So it's really something to look forward to. So I think there's going to be lots of exciting things going on there. I know that in the past, the ladies that have attended have had workshops and various different things going on. I think they did yarn dyeing and various different knitting techniques and yarny experiences. And I think just the fact to go away for a few days uninterrupted, be totally spoilt in a lovely environment with lots of lovely knitters and just get on doing what we love, I think is going to be fabulous. So I'm really looking forward to that. Another thing I'm really looking forward to is the Unravel Festival, which is taking place in February. I can't quite remember the date, but that's at Farnham in Surrey. So I'm hoping to go along to that, and that'll be a good way to get some lovely new things ready to take to the retreat with me, so I'm well stocked up with yarn. Yes, so there's lots of nice yarny things coming up in the near future to look forward to, which is really exciting. So you can probably tell I am quite excited about lots of things at the moment. Okay, I'm just going to have a little look at my notes. Right, shall we get on with the finished objects? I think it's probably been a bit of maybe the influence of the new year, maybe just a state of mind in general, but this week has been all about finishing all the things, getting all the whips done, getting finished objects, getting needles clear, getting project bags clear, and just marching on so I can get new things on the needles and start looking forward to some exciting knitting times. So I'll start off with my 3-colour cashmere shawl, which if you've been watching the podcast for a while, you'll know was something that I was struggling with. It had been previously finished, the knitting was finished, but here it is, what I'd done is these stripe sections here, instead of carrying yarn over at the edges, I'd been breaking the yarn off, and I had an awful lot of ends to sew in, sort of weave in, and it is a bit of a dreaded job. And I picked it up a couple of times and did a bit and put it down, and then it languished in a bag in the bottom of the wardrobe, and I'd really lost interest in it. But with a bit of renewed vigour this week, I decided just to sit down, and in actual fact, like lots of these things, something that you dread, once you get out and crack on with it, it really didn't take long. I think in about an hour and a half I had all the ends sewn in, and then got it blocked, and you can see it's blocked out really well. It's huge, absolutely huge. So this is a pattern by Joji Locatelli, and I originally saw this on the Grocery Girls podcast. I'm trying to show you it in its entirety, but it's proving virtually impossible. You can see it's a big crescent shaped shawl, 3 colours. Yeah, I saw it on their podcast and fell in love with it and thought I would knit it for my mum. So I chose colourways that I thought she would like that go with the wardrobe that she wears. And this was knitted in Malabrigo yarn. I've got the yarn tags here. It's Malabrigo, the yarn type is Makita. I don't know if that's showing up there. Makita is the type of yarn, and it's 100% merino superwash, and the colours that I chose were natural, which is the creamy section. This one here, that's the natural. The beigey colour is pearl, and the lovely blue, which is a lovely deep tonal blue. The camera's picking that up quite true to colour, and that one is Paris Night. It's really lovely yarn to knit with. I like the Malabrigo yarn. It's not too expensive. It's got a lovely drape to it and squish to it as well at the same time, and gives a nice stitch definition even in the lace sections. I did a little picot bind off too. So now it's all blocked, and I've shown you all. That's ready to gift to my mum, so hopefully she'll be happy wearing that. Be super warm and cosy on these winter nights. I'm not sure if mum's quite a wearing a shawl out person. Who knows, she might do, I hope so. But if nothing more than being something cosy to wrap round while she's sitting at home watching TV. But I think it's a really nice pattern, and I'm really looking forward to giving that to her later on. So that's my first FO. Moving on, the next finished object for this week are the mittens. And how pretty do they look? I'm really pleased with how they've worked out. Love having them on my super cute mouse blockers from the Knitting Shed. I think they look amazing. And I must admit, I spent since they were blocked, I've spent a lot of the time walking around the house sort of like doing little waves with the mitten hand, going around the corner, generally being a bit silly. But I'm so pleased with them. I just couldn't stop looking at them. They've blocked really nicely. You can see how nice and even they are now, because this yarn is the Mrs. Moon Plump DK in the Darjeeling and Marshmallow colourways. And whilst it was beautiful yarn, really super soft and plump as the name suggests, I found it a little bit splitty when I was knitting with it. I was using, I think it was high sharps, might have been Addies, but I found that you really had to keep an eye on the yarn splitting as you did the stitches, particularly with some of the yarn overs and etc. in the pattern section. But yeah, with a little bit of perseverance, I'm really pleased how they came out. They fit Lulu perfectly, so she's really pleased. And yes, she can have them now. So I showed them to her yesterday. She was really excited, and then I said, oh, you've got to wait till they go on the podcast. So Lulu, you can have your mittens now. So that's those. They were the green leaf mittens, free pattern on Ravelry. Super easy to do. It's my first pair of mittens, so if I can do these, I'm sure all you fabulous knitters can do them with no trouble whatsoever. So yeah, 2 finished objects so far. So I have been a finished object demon this week. Moving on, I do have another finished object, and this is my sock head hat. It's been living in my lovely little loop and bar project bag, which is such a perfect size and really nice and squishy. I've been popping it in my handbag, taking it out and about with me. So this is my finished sock head hat. I did do a little selfie on Instagram, so if you follow me on there you've already seen it. So this is knitted in the Sweet Georgia, I think the yarn's called Spark. Let me just have a look on the label. Cash Lux Spark. And I bought that from a yarn story when I was at the Yarnporium show in London. And you can see it's a really luxurious blend. It's 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere and 10% spark, which I guess is the stellina. I thought it was a bit too fancy to use for socks, and I thought it would make a really, really nice hat. Ended up with quite a lot left over, so that will go towards something. And the pom-pom I made from a little sparkly mini that I picked up at the same show. I can't remember the vendor, but I thought a contrasting pom-pom would look really, really cute. I don't know whether to try it on now. I'm going to end up with hat hair, but I didn't make it as long, nearly as long as the pattern suggests, because I think slouchy hats are probably more of a younger thing, certainly not my thing. I love them on other people, but it wasn't really my thing, so I knitted it quite a lot shorter. I still did the rib to the suggested size. I think it's about 4 inches of rib, which does seem to go on forever, but once you pass the rib, the rest of the hat virtually knits itself. So I'm going to attempt to put it on now, so you can all get ready to have a giggle. Put your cup of tea down in case you laugh. So yeah, you can see there's not too much slouch at the back. I like the nice deep brim, keeps my ears warm. It's really light as well. It's not a big sort of, you know, you're not conscious of the fact that you've got a big heavy hat on. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. I did offer it to Lulu, it wasn't quite her thing. So yeah, I'm keeping this one for myself. So another FO. So here we go, ready for hat hair? Not too bad, okay. Right, so I think considering that was all done in the last week, I'm really, really pleased with myself to get 3 things completely finished and off the needles and blocked and ready to give or ready to wear. So a very successful knitting week, and it's enabled me to get on with some other projects. Okay, so what am I working on at the moment? In this lovely bag, this is a really big bag, not really a knitting project bag. This actually came from Kiki K, which is a shop that sells stationery and planners and all sort of related accessories. I think they've got a shop in Covent Garden, but yeah, it's a perfect size for my Madewell cardie, which is in here because it's quite roomy. So I'm going to get that out. I'm just going to have a quick sip of my coffee. It's definitely a coffee kind of morning. Okay, so the Madewell cardie, I had been making really, really good progress on this before Christmas. And then with all the Christmas projects that I was working on and generally just the busyness that happens in the run up to Christmas, you had to take a back seat. First of all, I'm going to show you the yarn that I'm using to knit this. And this is from Zena at the Little Yellow Uke Crafts. She's got an Etsy shop. And this is her Soprano sock base, which is 75% merino, 25% nylon. And the colour is Chantilly. I have shown you this on the podcast before, but I just thought I would. It's so pretty. It's always worth another little look. All that gorgeous pinkness. I am a pink girl. I like a bit of pink. So that's the yarn. And I got Zena to dye me up a sweater quantity of this to make sure that they were all dyed at the same time and I didn't have to worry about the colour. changing between skeins and so on. So the Madewell, this is another Joji Locatelli pattern. Really like her patterns. I like the way they're written. They're always quite straightforward to do. Just trying to untangle it all. So that's the back. So this is the front. So you can see I've knitted the whole body of the cardigan and down to the rib. One sleeve is complete. I think I had one sleeve. Did I have one sleeve complete last time? I think I had to do just the rib. So there's a nice sleeve. I love the way the pattern makes it look like it's a really complicated set-in sleeve, but it isn't. It's all knit in one piece down to this point where you just put the stitches onto spare yarn and then just pick up and knit the rest of the sleeve down. And I did that on magic loop and did the ribbing. And the other sleeve, it's not too far behind it. You can see I'm about halfway down, so if I concentrate on that for a couple of days, I should get that sleeve done, and then it will just be picking up around the neck and down the fronts to do the band. I don't think it has buttons. I think it's just like an edge-to-edge cardie. It's really difficult to show actually on the camera, but yes, it's knitted up beautifully. The yarn, you can see the subtleties in the hand-dyed yarn. Little spots of darker pink and the more natural shade coming through. Really nice stitch definition, super soft. I think it's going to be lovely to wear. So that's the Madewell cardie. I had been knitting the doing the magic loop on the sleeves with I had some Knit Pro Symphony interchangeables, but I was finding that where the cable joins the needle, it was really catching and it was not making it a pleasure to knit at all. So I made an Amazon order out for some higher sharps, treated myself to another couple of sets, and since then it's been no problem at all. They're nice and smooth, the cable's nice and flexible. So yeah, it's really made a difference in getting this sleeve up and running. So I'm really looking forward to getting this all done so that I can wear it, maybe take it along with me to the retreat, because I'm sure all the other ladies will be showing off their lovely hand knitted garments. So yeah, that's something to aim for. So yeah, Madewell cardie by Joji Locatelli. It's a paid for pattern, but I think it's a beautiful design and so simple, working it all in one piece with no seaming at the end. So I feel I probably will do another one at some point in the future. So that's one project that I'm working on at the moment. Don't have that many whips on the needles at the moment, which is quite a good thing, not to have loads of whips, but I do like to have things to skip between so I don't get bored when I'm working on my knitting. The next whip in my Nora George ice skating bag was the Christmas Eve cast on, which is a little project that Danny of Little Bobbins started a couple of years ago. You're all familiar with it. I won't keep on repeating myself. I decided to knit the Vintage Fairy Light Socks by Helen Stewart. A beautiful pattern. And I thought, when I was getting stuff ready for the podcast this morning, I thought I had a completed sock, but I just need to literally kitchen of the toes on these. But the rest of the sock is complete. You can see, just move that out of the way, the Fairy Lights pattern at the top, down into a rib, slip stitch heel, and yeah, that one, as I say, just needs a little bit of Kitchener on the end, and I'll be good to go on the second sock. So yeah, I'm really pleased with these. You might remember from the last podcast I showed you my Mercury socks. Those were the huge ones, if you remember. And I did sit and frog them, rewound the yarn and popped it away for another time. They were absolutely huge, and I've since seen lots of people's finished Mercury socks on Instagram and on their podcasts and so on, and realised that yeah, I had made a really big boo-boo in making them so big and everybody else's looked so pretty. So I will cast on another pair quite soon in a different yarn, and yeah, I think I need to exercise the demon of the Mercury socks, otherwise I probably won't knit them again, and it is such a pretty pattern. So yes, that's my other work in progress, the Fairy Lights socks. I had planned to get cast on the speckled shawl, which I showed you last week, and that's this one, which is by Pariser Landluft. I did show it last week. It's just quite a simple shawl with some really interesting shaping, which I think gives it a really nice sort of clean line, and it's intended to show the gorgeousness of speckled yarn, and then just pair it up with a coordinating solid or tonal yarn. I got as far as caking up my yarns, which I have here. Really pretty colours. The top one is from Nora George. Sorry, I keep leaning forward because I've got everything sprawled out on the spare bed here. So the first one is a Nora George yarn, and this is Dobby, as in Dobby from Harry Potter. And the other one is La Bien-Aimée, and this is the Romance colourway, which is a beautiful speckled pink, very soft parts of pink, some stronger bits in the speckles. Yeah, you can see there's lots of really nice tones in this yarn. So that's going to be my two colour choices. Obviously this for the top section. Had a bit of a one of those oh my god moments when I was winding this yarn. I had it on the Swift and just started winding it onto my ball winder, and as the yarn got to one of the speckled sections, it just snapped. I thought, oh my goodness, I hope this isn't going to be the way that, you know, there's something wrong with the skein and it's going to keep doing that. Fortunately it didn't. It was only once. So I just tied a simple knot in it and carried on winding the cake. So it's somewhere right in the middle, and when I get to it, if the shawl needs that much yarn, when I get to that point, I'll do the magic knot to join it up. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. It's quite expensive yarn, and I thought, oh dear, that's not good, but maybe just one of those blips. So yes, I think with these two together, it's going to make a really nice combination. And I do love a freshly wound cake of yarn. My ball winder was quite well behaved this time. Sometimes it tends to go a bit crazy with some types of yarn. I have no idea why that would be. It isn't a fancy ball winder. It's just one I picked up on Amazon for about £11. It was quite cheap. Maybe that's why. Sometimes it goes a bit crazy, and the skeins, it ends up, instead of winding sort of to the crisscross way that you would expect, it ends up with a big load of yarn at the bottom of the winder, all sort of like coiled up, which is a bit messy, and it makes me a bit disappointed because I do like to see the cakes all nice and tidy. I tend to work from the outside edge rather than pulling from the centre, because I think it's easier to pull from the centre and you don't get so many, in theory you shouldn't get so many tangles, but I always end up with tangles if I pull from the centre, so I tend to work from the outside of the cake. So this will be cast on certainly in the next couple of days, because I'm going to have lots of knitting time next week. I'm away on business for a couple of days in Wales, so I've got a couple of nights in a hotel where I'll need to entertain myself, so this should get quite a lot of love by the time you see me on the next podcast. Incoming goodies. I haven't even opened this actually. I thought I'd wait and do it with you guys. So it's a project bag. I'm naughty, I know. Ignore the crinkling. I quite like the sound of a crinkle because it means goodies are on the way. This is a beautiful project bag that I purchased on Etsy. Hope that's not reflecting too much. It's actually called My Cat Tibbles, the design was called. There's a little pussycat here, Tibbles, which is super cute, and I just loved all the colours. I'm a sucker for patchwork. Love, love, love it. And look how beautifully it's been wrapped. This was from a lovely lady who's fairly local to me, just down the road in Essex, and her name is Rachel, and her shop is madebyRachel.etsy.com. I'm going to hold that up for you so you can see the tag. So check her out. She does have a few project bags, another lovely sewn goodies, bunting and various things, but she's got a really lovely style with colour, etc. So that was beautiful. I will open it in a sec so we can have a good look. And it even came with a little glassine envelope of not fabric, I think they're paper shapes and things, and the little tag. And I love all the little details that people add, little finishing touches. I think it really makes a difference, makes your purchase a real happy thing, like getting a present for yourself in the post. So let's open the project bag and have a look. I feel like it's Christmas morning again. Okay. So I think I'll put the speckle shawl in here. I think a nice new project deserves a nice new bag. This is going to really crinkle now, I'm sorry. Maybe I should have done it before. Maybe open it on the podcast was a bit silly, but get excited. Okay, here we go. Get rid of the crinkles. Oh, it's adorable. Just open it up. So there we have it. Isn't it pretty? Nice box bottom. Plain lining. You can see all my bits and bobs. A little sort of like waxed linen cord there on the zip pull. So let's just pop these. I think 2 skeins are going to go in here quite nicely. And there they are. Don't they look pretty? So that's all good to go. Yeah, I'm really, really pleased with that. So check her out on Etsy. I think she's got Instagram account as well. I'll just check on the tag. Let's say she had Instagram. It's just on there. All her details. I guess I should really do some show notes somewhere to put all these details. Maybe that's a good reason to start a Ravelry group, and then I could pop all the notes from the podcast in the group. Okay, so that's all the finished objects, work in progress. Just one little bit of incoming loveliness this week. I did want to speak to you about knit-alongs, cowls. There are a few that have caught my eye that I've seen on people's podcasts that I might like to take part in this year. One of which is on Katie's podcast, Inside Number 23. She has been talking about Andy Satterland's designs, which are beautiful. Lots of lovely garments, sweaters and cardigans. So I thought I'd quite like to join in that. I think the cowl, I think it's called the Satterlong cowl, and I'm sure it's running from the 1st of January till the end of March. It might be wrong. I'd have to double check on that. But I thought it would be perfect to get a cardigan knitted. My Madewell's almost on the way, so I have looked at the Blaster cardigan, which is a really nice pattern. It's sort of like a waist length pattern with a bit of eyelet detailing. I think it's got 3/4 length sleeves, but I might lengthen those. Now, ideally, I could do with a nice new cardigan to wear with some of the dresses that I wear for work, and waist length would be quite a nice shape to wear with those. Problem I have is that I would really like a black cardie, but I don't fancy knitting a whole cardigan in black yarn, because I think that might get a little bit hard on the eyes, especially at night. So maybe I'll go for something just a little step away from black, maybe like a charcoal colour. So I have to look out for some yarn for that. I'm thinking maybe some Malabrigo in one of their colourways. So I shall check that out and maybe get that cowl started. The other knit-along that I was interested in was another one from Katie, Inside Number 23, which is a Harry Potter knit-along, which is running for the whole year. And you can knit anything that's a pattern that relates to Harry Potter or any of the characters in the films. Obviously, everyone is familiar with the Hermione's Everyday Socks. I've knitted a couple of pairs myself, so that's a really good one to do. And also any yarns that are Harry Potter related. I'm guessing with my Dobby yarn from the Speckled Shawl, that might even be might qualify for entry, so I'd have to check on that. But yeah, so there's lots and lots of ways that you can integrate anything Harry Potter into that knit along. So I think I'll be taking part in that as well. The other knit along that I'm going to be taking part in is the Suffolk Socks Ipswich to Felixstowe knit along with the lovely Julie. She is starting this fairly soon, and because she's local to me in Ipswich, she contacted me and said, would I like to join her for maybe to have a cup of tea or coffee, a piece of cake, and we can cast on something for the cow together. So that would be a really, really nice idea. So that's another one that I'm going to get involved in. I think I'd like to this year get more involved in knit-alongs. I've sort of dabbled in them in the past year, but not actually entered my projects into any of the threads on Ravelry or sort of, you know, so I wouldn't have been qualified for any prizes or anything. And whilst, you know, prizes aren't everything, it's nice, it's a little bit of added excitement, isn't it? And also to get involved in the chatter on Ravelry. So that's one of my knitting goals, is to get a little bit more involved on Ravelry. Put up, you know, certainly update my project pages and just get a bit more involved in the community on that side of things too. So do join me over there if there's anything that you're interested in too. I think that's probably everything for this week. I'm just checking over on my notes. It's been a bit of a quick one this morning. Just wanted to check in and make sure that I get my fix of podcasting, because it's become something that I look forward to, probably, you know, one of the main things I look forward to in the week. So I will crack on with my projects. I hope you enjoy all your knitting and crafty things this week, and I'll see you again next week. Thank you ever so much for watching. Take care. Bye.